After Auschwitz, guided close read. The first German concentration camps were built only for opponents of the Nazi Party. Later, these camps were also used to imprison Jews and other supposed enemies of the state. Auschwitz, the largest Nazi concentration camp, was opened in 1940 in southern Poland. Inside, prisoners were forced to do work for the Nazi government. Those who were unable to do useful work were killed. Over 1 million Jews were sent to Auschwitz. Most of them died inside its walls. The camp was finally abandoned by German soldiers as the Russian army advanced upon it in 1945. The combined sites of Auschwitz and its mass extermination center at Birkenau are considered the biggest cemetery in the world. The Auschwitz-Birkenau State Museum is an exhibition of Nazi prisons and death chambers. The museum, originally devised by Holocaust survivors during the 1950s, is the most visited tourist site in Poland. This speech takes place at that site. The text includes a line of prayer repeated throughout the speech. The words are the beginning of a solemn prayer that is also known as the mourner's prayer. Speakers try to capture their audience's attention by beginning speeches with a striking or memorable image. Reread lines 1 through 19. What does Wiesel do to get listeners' attention at the beginning of his speech? Pause while you think. He describes personal memories of Auschwitz. He repeats, "Here, heaven and earth are on fire." Why might Wiesel have chosen to begin this way? Pause while you think. He feels terrible pain in this place because of what he experienced there 50 years earlier. He is arousing his listeners' compassion and making them interested in what he has learned. Close your eyes and look. Close your eyes and listen. Rhetorical devices are techniques writers use to enhance their arguments and communicate more effectively. Repetition, repeating of a word or a phrase or a line, is one such device. Reread lines 4 through 6. Identify the repetition. What is the impact of the repetition? Pause while you think. He repeats the word no. No name. No hope. No future. This emphasizes the desolation and lack of humanity in the camp. Parallelism is a rhetorical device in which similar grammatical structures are repeated. Parallelism and word repetition in a speech can have rhythmical effects, helping listeners connect meaning, sound, and feeling. Reread lines 25 through 33, noting the phrase "kingdom of darkness" in line 25. Find a parallel phrase in the next paragraph and describe the impact of both phrases. Pause while you think. The phrases "kingdom of darkness" and "kingdom of eternal night" suggest an entire land of hopelessness, fear, and pain in which there is never any light or happiness. Traditional Judaism forbids cremation. The bodies of the dead are required to be buried in the earth. Reread lines 37 through 39. What does Wiesel's choice of the word blasphemy convey? Pause while you think. When he says God's creation was condemned to blasphemy, he may mean that the Jewish people who were cremated here were not properly buried. He suggests that the feeling of grief is even greater because there are no bodies and no individual graves. An ethical appeal is a persuasive technique in which a speaker appeals to his listener's sense of morality. In this case, the accepted belief that bloodshed and terror are wrong. Wiesel gave this speech in 1995 and makes references to ethnic strife and genocide that were happening in the world at that time. Reread lines 51 through 60. Identify words and phrases that convey an ethical appeal. Pause while you think. In the name of all that is sacred in memory, let us stop the bloodshed in Bosnia, Rwanda, and Chechnya, the vicious and ruthless terror attacks. Let us reject and oppose more effectively religious fanaticism, and racial hate. Remember the morality of the human condition. What is the impact of this language on the tone of the speech? Pause while you think. It offers a more hopeful tone that it is possible to create a less violent world. In the conclusion of a speech, a speaker leaves listeners with something to think about. Reread lines 61 through 64. What elements of Wiesel's conclusion make it an effective ending for a speech? Pause while you think. He repeats the first line of the prayer for the dead and addresses God. The ending has an emotional impact as he reminds listeners that the dead are around them, never buried or mourned as they should have been. He is reminding his listeners about why they have gathered in this place.